Mega Man Mythbusters!
The Mega Man series has several myths that have gone around for years, and it's time for us to investigate each and every one of them. And the first myth that I want to go over is a very interesting one that has circled around the Mega Man community for a good long while now, which is that Dr. Wily died in Mega Man 3 and gets replaced by a robotic version of himself. Now, if you don't remember the ending to Mega Man 3, Dr. Wily gets crushed under a pile of junk, and then Proto Man says, "Ah man, it's too late to save him." But further evidence supports this in Mega Man 7, where Mega Man attempts to kill Dr. Wily, which is something that robots should not be able to do to humans. And even more evidence shows up in Mega Man 10, where Dr. Wily appears to have the Robo-Inza virus, which can only affect robots. Then, even more evidence in Mega Man 11 shows up when he uses the speed gear to start begging for mercy, which is something only robots can do. Now, before I give you my thoughts on this, Rakuhouha, or however you say this, actually has a great video going into more depth, so please check that video out. I'm going to link it down in the description below, and I'm also going to avoid going into details so you guys are more inclined to check out that video. But my thoughts are not exactly the same as in that video, so here's what I think. I don't think Dr. Wily dies in Mega Man 3. That is ridiculous. We see the UFO land in a tree right after this, and unless Proto Man is doing that to honor Dr. Wily, that's got to be a sign that Dr. Wily somehow escaped. I mean, he is pretty tricky. But that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if Dr. Wily slowly implemented robotic enhancements into his body throughout the Mega Man series. I mean, he's an old man, surely his health is declining, but he's also an evil genius. Adding some sort of cybernetic enhancements to himself does not seem out of character for Dr. Wily, and would explain things like the Robo-Inza and the speed gear in Mega Man 10 and 11. That's what I think at least, but I can't really bust this myth or confirm it with evidence, so I'm just going to say plausible and tell you guys to check out the video that I'll link down below, because it's a great video and he goes into way more details than I did about this whole can of worms. Continuing the myth that Dr. Wily is a robot, though, are the myths that Dr. Wily is Serges and Isaac. Now, this is super interesting, and I wish I knew more about the story, but here's what I think. First of all, Serges in the Japanese version of Mega Man X2 refers to Mega Man as Rockman X, and is the only person to call Dr. Light by name. Also, when he dies, he says something along the lines of dying to one of Dr. Light's creations again. No. I don't know exactly what he says, but it's something like that. But on top of that, he is the one who rebuilt Zero, which is crazy because Zero's DNA and blueprints were a mystery all the way up until Mega Man X5, and it's also implied that Serges found Zero's blueprints and was the one who told Sigma about Zero. And what's even crazier is that in the Japan-only book, The Compendium of Rockman X, this theory is acknowledged, and while not confirmed, it does say Serges heavily resembles a mad scientist who once terrorized the world, which sounds to me like Dr. Wily. This is a lot of evidence, and personally, I think it is implied to be the case, but we can't confirm anything. So while it's highly likely that somehow Dr. Wily and Serges are connected, whether it be through AI or some other means, I'm only going to be able to give this a plausible. But is Wily Isaac? Well, there is a lot of evidence for this too, but less than Serges for sure. But I guess both can be true. Wily could have put his consciousness in the Sigma virus type of thing, or I don't know, an AI like Dr. Light to inhabit multiple robot bodies, so none of these are impossible, but most of the evidence for Isaac being Dr. Wily is his obsession with Zero and his hatred for Mega Man X. This is cool, and again, this is a plausible myth, but I mean, with how powerful and mysterious Zero and his design are, it makes sense that any Maverick scientist can be interested in Zero, but also hates Mega Man X, because Mega Man X kills Mavericks. Now, to be fair to this myth, Isaac really obsesses over Zero to the point of really liking him, but again, there's not enough evidence, so this is just a plausible. But my personal favorite theory or myth in this realm is that Sigma is Dr. Wily. Okay, this is the last blank is Dr. Wily myth, I promise. But when else am I going to be able to talk about this, guys? Come on. Anyway, there's less evidence for this, but since Dr. Wily made Zero and the Zero virus, and Sigma got infected with the Zero virus, what if that's where Dr. Wily put his consciousness, or at least some of it? I mean, there are a lot of parallels between Sigma and Dr. Wily, and while there's nothing as crazy as with Serges or Isaac that really points to them being the same person, I do think it's possible. But again, not enough evidence, so this is only plausible. But moving on to another topic, when I made made my video on beating Mega Man X without dashing, I tried to get to every upgrade, but there were two I was unable to get without dashing. The Heart Tank in Storm Eagle stage and the Helmet upgrade in Storm Eagle stage. Now, to be fair, I gave up on trying to get these pretty quick in that video because I had every other upgrade already, and that wasn't really the goal, but the miss is that these upgrades are possible to get without dashing. And you know what? Yeah, I think they are. The jump to get the Helmet upgrade is precise, but I believe my comment section. Is that dumb? Should I not believe random comments on the internet? Sure. But I believe my subscribers, and I do think this jump is possible. And as for the Heart Tank, apparently you can just get carried over there by one of these enemies, so yeah, this myth is confirmed. But here's a fun myth. You know in Gemini Man stage in Mega Man 3, how Proto Man shows up and blows up that weird thing and let you go underground? Well, there's a myth that there's actually a secret on the other side. And while this is one of my favorite myths, unfortunately this one is busted. There is no secret, but I wish there was. Also, if you time your sliding and jumping right, you can actually jump through the thing that Proto Man blows up before he blows it up, so unless that counts as a secret, this myth is busted. But this is a myth I have never heard before and I'm very interested in. You can use Sting Chameleon's weapon to damage Armored Armadillo while he's shielding. I've never heard anything like this, but let's go check it out. Nope, he definitely blocks it. This did make me curious though, so I checked every weapon and yeah, his armor blocks everything except for his weakness, so myth busted. Now this is another theory more than a myth, but a lot of people asked about this one, Zero killing the main cast of the classic series. Now this is the ending to Mega Man Unlimited, spoilers guys, and while that is a great game, I never really bought into this as a canon theory. It's a cool ending to a fan game and it makes for a great spin-off story, but I can't think of any in-game elements that would allude to this. In fact, I think it's very unlikely, if anything. Zero was in a capsule when Sigma found him, and we can only assume it was a similar capsule to X, where it had to have time to do its software updates or whatever was going on in there. And Dr. Light managed to turn himself into an AI, which I feel like would be weird if Zero killed him. I mean, I at least feel like Dr. I's AI would say something about that at any point in the Mega Man X series, but who knows? As to what happened to the original series cast, I have no clue, but I doubt they all just got murdered. That's pretty dark. So while this myth is technically plausible, I'm gonna be straight up biased here and say busted. Now here's a myth I actually like a lot more. Mega Man X is Mega Man from the classic series. This one is super interesting to me because I did talk about this in another video and I said this was my headcanon, so I think it's pretty cool that other people think the same thing. But basically the basis of this is, what if Dr. Light put classic Mega Man in that upgrade capsule thing for 100 years and out came Mega Man X? Well, what if indeed? Again, this is another theory, so I can't really bust it, but I like this theory a lot. Also, one day I will do a video dedicated to one theory at a time, or a few theories in more detail, because I don't want to spend too much time on theories here, but if you want to see more actual myths, please comment down below, because it was hard to find myths on Mega Man X or Mega Man that aren't just theories. But anyway, is Mega Man X just classic Mega Man upgraded? It's plausible for sure. Another myth in the same lane is that Mega Man X is classic Mega Man's brother? Well, if Proto Man is Mega Man's brother, that means any robot made by Dr. Light is Mega Man's sibling, right? So unless the last myth is actually true canonically and Mega Man X is just straight up classic Mega Man, then yeah, Mega Man X is Mega Man's brother. This myth is confirmed until canon says otherwise, and the last myth would be confirmed if that was the case. Now here's a real popular Mega Man myth. Only Tooterp subscribers can beat a Mega Man game. And I'll go ahead and let you know this is not true, this is busted. But it is true that Tooterp subscribers are straight up better Mega Man players. That is not a myth at all, that's just a fact. So subscribe to get good at Mega Man. I recently discovered a website called racetime.gg, and I think it would be fun to race some of you guys in Mega Man games in the future, or a Mega Man randomizer. So if any of you guys would be interested in that, please let me know down in the comments. And also do subscribe so you have a chance of actually beating me, because if you're not subscribed, you're gonna lose. The next myth though is that Zero was hinted about in the classic series, and this one is actually true. It's not a theory or anything. In Mega Man the Power Battles, when you play as Base, one of the endings literally shows Dr. Wily showing off Zero's blueprints and saying that he's working on the most powerful robots of all time, which is more than a hint for Zero. It shows Zero. It's straight up a reveal. These are also the same blueprints that Serges finds in Mega Man X2, which adds to that theory that Serges is Dr. Wily, but let's not open up that can of worms again. Zero being hinted at in the classic series is confirmed though, not a myth. But here's a myth myth I've never heard before. Base was hinted at in Mega Man 6. And this one is especially interesting because in the Mega Man canon timeline, Base should exist by the time Mega Man 6 happens because he would have had to been built at the very latest after Mega Man 5. If you don't remember, Dr. Wily was sent to prison in Mega Man 6, and the Robot Masters in Mega Man 7 were actually built in advance to break him out of prison, which is what happens in the intro stage to Mega Man 7. And since we see Base in the intro stage, that means he would have already had to have been built during the events of Mega Man 6, so this myth lines up with the timeline perfectly. The only problem here is I've never seen any evidence of Base in Mega Man 6. I've beaten that game a lot, I just combed through everything for this video and I can't find anything even close to a Base reference. Maybe I missed something, or maybe the design for Base was submitted as a Robot Master to Capcom for Mega Man 6, because Capcom did do that a lot for fan designs and submissions, but I don't know. As far as I'm able to tell though, there is sadly no evidence of Base in Mega Man 6, even though that would be super cool, so unfortunately this myth is busted. This next myth is just dumb. Fire Mets and Planties are actually Mets. Now if you don't know, this is a controversial topic on the Tooterp channel. You see, Mets, the enemy, they have the name Met, right? Well, that is short for Helmet. And the Fire Mets have fire on their head and not a helmet, and are therefore not a Met. Same goes for the Planties. They have a camouflage bush on their head, not a helmet. Now, these enemies are still cute and fun, and I like them a lot. They're great enemies, they just aren't Mets. And there's nothing wrong with that. They don't have to be Mets. We just have to set the record straight. Even though I already have in my best and worst Mets videos on both the Classic and Mega Man X series, but regardless, this myth is busted. Alright, so this crazy guy right here says there's a myth claiming that there are super secret Street Fighter moves in Mega Man X. Yeah, right, this is busted. But this is actually a common myth, which is that you have to die in order to get the Hadouken in Mega Man X. Okay, well the comment says Shoryuken, but there's no reason you would have to die to get the Shoryuken in Mega Man X2, so I'm going to assume they meant the Hadouken from Mega Man X1. Because most of the time you see people get the Hadouken, they do die over and over. I mean, there's a 1-up farm on this stage, it only makes sense. But you actually do not have to die. The intended way to get the Hadouken is to exit the stage from the pause menu and start it from scratch, but people don't do that because it's slower. So while you don't have to die over and over, it's certainly better, but yeah, this myth is busted. For our final myth though, we have another semi-theory myth being that Zero is actually Base or Proto Man, but this one is easily bustable. This can't be possible because Dr. Wily shows off the blueprints for Zero in that power battle cutscene I was talking about earlier. And in that very game, you're actually able to play as both Base and Proto Man, so Zero is unrelated to either of them because he's actively being designed and built, while Proto Man and Base have nothing to do with Dr. Wily at that point. You could argue that maybe Proto Man was put into a capsule and turned into Zero, similar to that Mega Man theory from earlier, but Proto Man is not cool with Dr. Wily at this point, and I can't imagine he was forced to do that. It just doesn't make sense. So while this would be very interesting, this myth is busted. That was Mega Man Mythbusters. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, maybe we can turn this into a series because there are some myths we did not have time to cover. Plus, I never covered the Mega Man Zero series or the Battle Network series because I don't know a lot about those Mega Man genres, but if you guys enjoyed, maybe I'll look more into those and we could turn this into an ongoing series. Or if you didn't like it, maybe we'll never do this again.